Good morning, guys. Today I'd like to just do a little demonstration on how I maintain joiner knives in between grindings in a process called stoning the knives. And traditionally this was done while the cutter head was under power, and I use a modern diamond hones now, and here is what I use. This is a very cheap little stone. There's a coarse and a fine stone, rides on your head. I believe I got that at Busy Bee, Harbor Freight, Grizzly sort of thing. This is a diamond flat stone. I believe it's 600 320, and this is a coarse stone, diamond as well. And these are, and the sheet of paper is all I use. Now this jointer head, let me set up here, is not dull, although it's getting a little dull. So we're going to bring her back to snuff. We've been milling cedar, and cedars can be hard on high-speed steel knives, and so this is a way. I'm just over here unplugging it, so the machine's unplugged, and you know, I always like to still try just in case for whatever reasons I forget. So the machine's unplugged. So we're going to take the guard off. We're also going to remove the fence for this operation. Now mine has just a simple bolt which allows this to be lifted off. I find just stand it up like that. Make sure you got a good hold of it and remove it. And I just place it out of the way, but I'm not going to kick it over. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to refresh the edge of all three of these cutters, and show you how I do that. I'll see if I can get this maybe in a more advantageous location for you to view that. Now, I have a simple little cover with a knob right there that I can get at this pulley. So you may have to take off. You may have to take off your entire guard, but I don't. Now, how do you stone knives, and what is stoning knives doing? What we're trying to do here, and of course I haven't got any nicks, so I'm just going to do a general, you know, I'm rotating it, I'm looking at the line of light, and usually what you'll see is, if you rotate it in such a way, it's actually going to be easy to see its dullness, and that's not too hard. Now you'll notice I got a little mark here. Right here, it's a little dash on that knife. There's a dash on that knife, and there's two dashes on that knife. It tells me which knife I've already done. It's a quick little trick, just to keep you organized. So what I do is first off, I'm going to take this device, which simply sits on your knife and the head, and you can just rotate that back and forth. Now I like to hold the pulley and just, okay, now if you come here, you're gonna see the little shine spots, and I don't know if you can or not. I haven't really zoomed in. But you can see I'm putting little shiny spots. That's actually where just the compression of the gib screws actually distort the knife. Now we're talking perhaps 1/8 of 1 thou. Okay, so what that does, that just makes sure I can sort of visualize what I'm seeing here. And so I'll do this. Now, some might say that this is all you really need to do to maintain high-speed steel knives. And for the most part, there's nothing wrong with that. I'll say, though, that what this does is hone each individual knife, but it doesn't ensure that each knife is within the cutting circle and all working in unison, because you are unaware of what you're taking off on each knife. And the process I'm going to show you is going to place the knives in a perfect cutting circle. Okay, so after doing that, I'll also like to add, I've already joined these knives once, and I'll do this up to 3 times. These knives, like I said, are not dull. Now, stoning the knife is actually using a stone off the back table. The back table should always be referenced, as the joiner uses the back table as its reference for milling stuff flat. If we hone uneven, we aren't referencing off the back table, and we can hone too much on this side than this side, and so we'll start to get into problems with it not cutting as deep on this side or this side. This process will true that up. Okay, so I like to start on my coarse side first. Coarse side cuts faster, and the paper is on the table so that we do not grind any of the surface of the table, and it becomes just my area to rock back and forth. Now I just hold this down, and I can't get anything to cut there. So what we do is we lower the back table, and I have a lock on my gibs, so I'm unlocking that, and I'm just going to roll the table down a little bit. Now I've got my rear table gibs extremely tight. Still, we're not rolling. Once again, better to use here than to roll here for obvious reasons. So I'm continuing to roll until I can hear that. I don't know if you can hear that. Can you hear that just kissing? Now here's one interesting thing is, see how you're doing on your process. If you always use this side of the fence more than you do this side will actually be lower than this side. Now I'm kissing on this side, you can hear it. You hear it? And I'm kissing on this side. This means the knife's actually is set to the rear table pretty evenly. Now that's one. I can go to here and see. I can tell just by feel that it isn't. Now, in the past, like I said, people would actually put stones on this and actually turn the machine on and drag this across. I think with these, this is unnecessary. And although I have done that, I wouldn't recommend it if you've never done it before. So at any rate, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of my marks, and I'm going to rock back and forth and stone the knife. Now I can do it this way too. Okay? And just rock that stone back and forth until I get what I call just an even line of light, and I'm at the top of that blade. I'm also parallel to that. Now that doesn't take long. I'm almost done. Okay? It's not necessary to have a dial after this because you're not changing the knife. In fact, you're actually setting the knives up better than you could with a dial. Now, that's about right. And I'm sort of feeling how much I've taken off because I want to sort of see it's a little stiffer there. So we'll hone that a little better. Now what we're doing here is we're creating a heel on that knife that has no back relief. Now it's a very small heel, okay, and that's actually not a problem with joiner knives, as long as that heel is kept under a 1/16 of an inch. Now, of course, I like to use a lot less than a 1/16 of an inch, and you know, so I keep that under. But I also will show you that after I've got them in what I call a sharp cutting circle. Okay, now I'm going to look, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to look again at that little streak of light there. And I want that to be a really clean line. I don't want to see little voids, chips. And it's interesting to note that it's not an even thickness all the way across. It's actually taking out the indiscrepancies that this knife does off of the rear table. This actually brings it into a better cutting circle than you could ever do with knives. And when I say better, it's not necessary that you bring it that close, but there are benefits to having it that close with this little micro bevel, mostly for unyielding woods like burls and bird's eye maple. You know, it's a good idea. See, so you can see however you want to do it. Now I'm doing this dry. I find for this amount of metal, I don't care to use a lubricant. It's dirty. These knives are, in my opinion, or these stones I should say, are fairly inexpensive. And although it may be less less than perfect for the stone, it's certainly easier to maintain and keep my head clean. So I'm going to say that I have a clean edge on that. So you can see it really didn't take me that long. Now I'm not done on that one. Completely honing, and I can feel that I've created a burr. Some people say that it's a good idea to remove that burr. I personally think if you polish that on the other side, in which case is this side, it's a finer stone, that burr will just fall off in the first bit of planing, assuming that the back is a polish, which I always make sure it is. Okay, and I now have one edge done this way. Now, I do like to take this again, and because I've created a heel, and let me see if I have a pencil here or something. The knife, oh, that's a great, let's see if I have a pencil somewhere. You think I would? Maybe I have a marker or something, we'll see. So what we're doing is, here is the knife. And there's the back of the knife, and this is what we're doing is we're taking a bit of that. Now, the thing is that front edge has a clearance, and as that blade runs past, this little area here is a back clearance. And because we are sharpening at the radius or the periphery of it, we are actually putting a flat on top. We're maintaining that same rake angle or the attack at which the knife cuts, but we're putting a back here. So we are sharp right here. And the theory is if we keep that dimension very whole, we won't get any glazing. Now, that's fine. You'll find also that when we do this jointing of the knives, this kind of a grind will require more down pressure. And so what I like to do is, now that I can see my line, so I can actually take something like this, place it on there, and actually reduce that back bevel just slightly. Okay, I'm making sure that I do not come to the front of that knife. I don't want to distort that front edge. This is what we're after, a very crisp edge right here. So this just sort of reduces that, and I can see once again the shine and where I'm grinding, and that's all. So it doesn't take much because we're not taking much. Okay? So now that we've got that, I'll go all the way around the head. Okay? This diamond one can sometimes be used to sort of reduce that, and I'm careful with it that I don't go over that line. And that's it. We are now sharp. So I'll continue this all the way around, and then I'll show you how to set the back table back up so that you aren't getting a spring joint or your table is set up properly to your knives. Thank you.